I know most of you. I'm John Schlote. I live down in Gunflint Lake half the year. And we owned Cross River Lodge, which is now Borderland Lodge, for years. And I grew up knowing a lot of the locals on Gunflint Lake and the area. And I had the honor of meeting Billy a few months ago. Patty Byers introduced us when I was at Odds and Ends, and he was in there. And he mentioned, he goes, you know, I've never been asked to talk up the trail. I said, well, we're going to take care of that. So we have a great honor today in introducing Billy. Billy Blackwell is from Grand Portage. He's a tribal elder, and he's got some history to share. We had lunch together, and he said he wasn't going to talk much because coming up the trail because he's got a bit of a cold. Well, I got my ears filled up. We had a great conversation, and it was really a lot of fun. I think you're going to enjoy what he has to say about a lot of the customs and the people of the area, and I think we're all going to learn quite a bit today. Billy?
I'm going to say in our way a prayer with the tobacco and ask you to go out and put it down after I finish talking. In our way, that is to fill the pipes, the spirits. And John and I talk about a lot of things that he doesn't like to say and Billy doesn't like to say, of things that are here on the Gunflint Trail that you don't see. Why there are reasons for things. In the Narrows, in the this place, in that. All of these things, I'll talk about them. And sema gipiminigo we paketanan wedi ako chenga boko sendan gejemani tu sema nanabosh wedi wanchidani max pemikon kikon bikon kinemani toko mai out odapanawa sema maskinde do na geto kwaganok bebama sege Jesus ameno abamiguyan migwech inge kitenenam nin we kwachitu inge keno magean aninga shoebo koma mewasha. I said I've been given tobacco, and I asked the Great Spirit, God, to accept it. I asked for Kijemanitu, the Great Kind-Hearted Spirit, for Nanabuju, which I will explain to you. And the four directions, east, south, west, north, I thank the sun for shining out. It's not in Grand Marais today, it's raining. And all the spirits of this area, I said, fill your pipes with this tobacco in our way, as I shall attempt to tell what I can of the history of this area that I know. Now, the elders used to say as they talked, I don't know a lot. The reason they say that is they are saying, I am nothing but a human being. That's what they say in their talks. I'm just a human. I don't know a lot. Way, way back at Lac LaCroix, deep in the woods, the ones who couldn't speak English, my brother through the native way, he and I talked fluently, and his mother never talked English. And I said, what did you say? He said, well, my mom used to say that our brain is in a deep forest. We cannot see. We are but meager human beings. We cannot see everything. So these are the things that I start from. Kagige means everlasting. Gikandazawin means knowledge, everlasting knowledge. I'm in my middle 70s. Sick every now and then. I had COVID 2 years ago, plus double pneumonia. And anyway, I made it through, but since then it's hard for me to remember a lot of words in English and Anishinaabe. Now, I'll let you pass this around. This is Billy in a dancing outfit at Grand Portage. However you want to do it. And this is Billy in about 19 71 at AIR, American Indian Radio, St. Paul, Minnesota. I was a young man, and so we had our own radio station. I spent 2 years in the cities, and that was more than enough. I got the heck out of there. Now, my mind would never quit with knowledge of Anishinaabe ways. I hear everybody here mentioning, a lot of people, Charlie Cook. Well, I knew most of the families native of the Gunflint Trail since I was a teenager. They always talked Indian to me. I wasn't raised with it. I knew 3-4 words. I learned it the hard way. Holy crap, frustrating. But I'm glad now. But anyway, I went up to Charlie's in the spring, and a loon came by with its baby on its back. And Charlie said, that means I'm going to have a good year when I see the loon do that. And I fasted 4 days and 4 nights fasting. What is the name of that little bay?
Charlie's Bay.
Charlie's Bay. I was just going to say that. Now, my brother Jack Blackwell was a fishing guide for the Kerfoot Gunflint Lake in about 1964 or 3. He then went so high up, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. He knows. Washington, D.C. High up. They asked him to be number 2 head of Department of Interior. He said, nope, no thank you. Why? He says, I spent 5 years in Washington, I never want to come back. So this is his book, Boundary Waters Boy. It's about the Boostrums from Clearwater Lake. And in that is other stories that I told him, of Wendigo stories and things I will explain as I go along. But these are the stories of our grandfather who used to walk from Clearwater Lake to Grand Marais. They moved from Malacca, Minnesota. So we'll pass this down. But that is the Gunflint Trail. So my knowledge, my family goes from Beaver Bay all the way to Thunder Bay and all the way up here. Now, in 1976, I was hired to do a 3-year program in Grand Portage for kids in school to learn. Nowadays, people with college educations, I don't have one, they aren't doing hardly anything. They're not doing that type of stuff. I know how to do it just like that. They send me to reservations, I say, it's simple. A coloring book, you take a big thing of paper, you put it together, that's 4 pages. You want the cover bigger, you want colors, how much? I'm Anishinaabe and proud, teacher's guide. What does Anishinaabe mean? What is proud? One in regular clothes, one in different clothes. All this type of stuff, for me it's just simple. So, I got somebody to do what's many considered some of the best artwork ever. These are non-Abuju stories that are told, speaking only in the winter. But in the summer, you can probably read it, but it tells on the page of Milwaukee. Which one wrote it down?
I did.
She did.
Yeah.
This is in Ojibwe and English. Here's all the birch tree. How it got it when Nanabuju hid from the Thunderbirds in a big attack. Unbelievable artwork. You know what this book costs? $5. Billy, what do you get out of it? Nothing. I don't want nothing. I want to share my knowledge. So this tells where to send for it, but it costs to send it from Milwaukee. Now, I had some pictures. Milt Powell was a good friend of mine. Now, Milt was raised on Saganaga Lake. I spent the last 2 weeks with many professional language speakers. I want to hear what you and why explain to me the word Saganaga. The best I got, Saagam means to go out. It means many outlets. I don't know the lake that well.
There's a lot.
How many islands are on it?
185. 360.
Huh?
I was told 360.
Okay. Okay. She should know. She lived there. Here is Milt. All Native people, you can see that. Maybe 2 years old, 3 years old. His winter suit is white rabbits. And I'm going to talk about stories that were passed down to me by these people. His mom and dad, Devasinook, Low Thunder in the Sky, Sophie Powell. I'll go into the history of this later. Her husband, Mike Powell. Powell was a German. The mother was a Giesecke, the wife, Sky. From the areas, which I have to ask John because he got the name, because I can't remember the name. Oshawi? Showishui. That is a whole history. That's where she's from. This is Chief Blackstone's last daughter alive. In 1956, I don't know where up here, they picked blueberries, just like they are today. And Mike Powell carried her on his back. That's Chief Blackstone's daughter. Blackstone has the most history you can't imagine. The Canadian government will not tell any of his history. And I'll explain that later why. Now, this is Chik-Wauk. That means a penetrating thunder in the sky. And they carried her on their back when they did that. Now, as I'm talking, if you have a question, you can raise your hand and I will try. But let me tell you, I've got 55 years of learning this history in the last 2-3 weeks steady. I'm trying to get this written down for what I'm going to tell you. Okay. 13,000 years ago was the Ice Age. It goes ice, ice, water, plants, trees. That's 13,000 years ago. In Grand Portage and in Washington, D.C., at South Fowl Lake, we have arrowheads. Those arrowheads are 9,000 to 10,000 years old. Mr. Blackwell is so smart for many things, he says, I don't know. How did this area look back then? I don't know. So I asked those who know somewhat. And I said, I came in to ask you a few questions today. What is it, Billy? How high was Lake Superior? They said, well, we have on the mountains above, we know it went to 2 levels. Much, much higher. So going back to ice, ice, water. Then land starts to grow. Now in our native beliefs, firstborn was a woman. And she was chosen to have a babies. This was done up above, not on earth. Was all made, things done, and then brought down to earth. Mud and water, why we have so much in us. They put on her one shoulder a clan, a duodam, a clan. Till the 1970s, tribes were not known as Chippewa, Ojibwe, Sioux, Cree. They were known by their clans. Bear, Mermaid, which natives married. Mermaids. They had many different things, clans. Bird clan, loon clan, all of these. Then she had a guardian spirit, guardian angel. Angel is in the Greek language, which really means that, spirit. Then after the woman was made, they made a man. Because they told a man, you cannot make it without a woman. And don't forget that. So then, in the book you see of the picture of Nanabuja with his grandmother. This is before the human time of 13,000 years. This is before that. He is born, 2 sets of twins. They are not humans, they're godlike. He gets out and he says, where is my mother? And his grandmother wouldn't answer. Why did she die? Who killed my mother? They wouldn't answer. 2 sets of twins that come out. One is the oldest, one of the 1 or 2 oldest things on earth is the sturgeon. Huge. That was the last one to come out. So he always traveled with his dog. And he was with his grandmother, Mother Earth. This is before humans were here. In his head, he had a cedar tree. Every religion, societal religions, have secret stories of these things. The tree of life is your tree of knowledge you are climbing to learn more. So he was made in our way. I'm not saying you have to believe a word I say, I'm just telling you our stories. He's made 1/2 at a highly godlike figure, which many religions have that in all. He is made 1/2 human. So I had to put a bowl of food out to come up here to the spirits. They're telling some of this. So he then lived before humans were made. Then the flood. He has a tremendous battle in war with the water. John, what word did you tell me today? Mishibizi? In the water. Mishamanidu. All right, well the head one is the Loch Ness Monster Lake, but 1 billion times bigger in Lake Superior. That was the big fight for the flood with Nanabuja. So that is that life. He was always with his dog. Always. I was taken to Rainy Lake by elders. See those big tracks, moccasin tracks? That's Nanabuja. There's the dog tracks next to it. When the people were led in migrations, which I will talk about more here, the mounds, that comes much later. But as they are led by, in the last huge migrations, by an otter. Who has ever been to or heard of Otter Track Lake? Why is it called that? It slides down. I'll talk later about Benny Ambrose, but that's where they found 3 rocks on the table. He left. I know that stuff. I hung around with them old guys. I knew it. I know the stuff the government asked him every week, every month. Did you find uranium yet? Constantly, uranium. I'm going to tell you who found and what from Gunflint area found cobalt. No, the Anishinaabe. Now, the most powerful thing they were given, one of the most that they fought and fought over. So I had to do work on this. How do they light their spear or their arrow? They put flint on it. Does it light? Nope. Well, I don't understand. You're talking about the flint arrows that they shoot in, and how are they lit? Pine, what's the word?
Pitch.
Pitch, yeah, that's what they put on it. Then they light it. Shoot into the mounds. Shoot in. So they put on their spears. I really don't know the story. John does, because of my being sick. A meteor came down to Mother Earth. What's the name of that in Canada?
Sudbury.
Sudbury. Where did the other big bunch, Michigan, a little bit, where'd the big bunch end up? Gunflint Lake. So they wanted the flint. They fought over it and over it and over it and over it for thousands of years in their migrations, which I will tell of. So 9, 10 to 1,000 years ago, we have, mainly from South Fall Lake, flint arrowheads. Now, I'm trying not to jump around in time too much, but I'm going to a little bit. Now we have till the year 1000 AD. Who, raise your hand if you've ever heard of this city in North America up till the year 2000? Cahokia. Where is it?
Illinois.
Well, part of, yep. What rivers come together? Mississippi and Missouri. That was the biggest trading area, 80,000 people. The Phoenicians of the Mediterranean came there. They traded and traded and traded. And they said to the interpreters, "Where is the flint from Flint Lake?" Gunflint. "Where is the copper from Minnoom, Isle Royal?" "This is what we want." So they traveled by canoe from Flint Lake. They then went to the water routes, to St. Louis, Missouri, Cahokia, the mounds. I had my friends of the Ho-Chunk Winnebago tribe who are Siouan, said we had mounds there. That was the Siouan type of people. So that was selling to the Phoenicians. Then the Phoenicians said, Egypt and the other places are telling us we want more of this 100% copper from Isle Royal. It's found in their tombs. What else is found in those tombs? wild rice.
Oh, wow.
Which only grows in North America. So, Mr. Blackwell, who knows so much, knows he doesn't know nothing. I said to some people on that type of thing, how old do you think wild rice is? Well, we don't know, but we know it's over 6,000 years old. I don't know. So see, there is so much knowledge around us. So, they sent it. And from Flint Lake, they sent big portions of the flint. I do not know how much was taken off that area. I do not know how it got from blown over here from that place in Canada, from a meteor came here. Well, you're listening to Mr. Blackwell, you're going to hear why he's half crazy. Who's ever been to Magnetic Rock? The elders took me there when I was a teenager. I did ceremonies there. Now I got to see if I can find the words since I've been sick. Okay, just came to me. What is a portal?
Opening.
Up there. That's the portal. Magnetic rock. The elders told me it's how they know how to get down from the other stars to land here. Which I'll tell in the story of Northern Light Lake. And that is how. That is how this happened. How did that big 30-foot rock get there in the middle of nothing? Nature? Other than humans? It was put there. The way the elders told me is they didn't know the name portal. I didn't until a few years ago. They enter through the sky with the Anangwak, those stars. They come down. That's how they know where to come at different places. Because this was a very this was a very precious, powerful area. The flint. The many different things. All of these things are here. So, the wild rice they send. There's a picture of Milt Powell going around. He used to rice over towards Basswood Lake, some of the lakes. They went all the way to Whitefish Lake, near Thunder Bay. All of these things. Rick Anderson of Grand Marais, Grand Portage, and his mother, Lou, they had land on South Fall Lake. They're the ones, she had the 9,000 to 10,000 year old arrowheads. They are in Washington, D.C. and Grand Portage. These arrowheads. Some are flint. Why did they have arrowheads in all these places? They're just as bad as today. Humans, animals sometimes no more than us. Fight, fight, fight over land. Still going on. No. Native tribes and Midwest tribes and Southern tribes went to Central America and South America to trade for things. When the Europeans came, they killed millions. And they said it is not against the 10 Commandments because they don't have a soul. Mr. Blackwell knows all that history. The Vatican then, 150 years later, changed it. Why? Thou shalt not kill. Kill every day, humans. They're so crazy. So, When they saw the things, they wanted them, wanted them, wanted them. So the Vaticans in Rome, the church around the world, said they don't have a soul. They changed it, and there was then left X amount of native people in these areas. Still a great amount. Not nearly like the millions. Did those people love each other or not fight each other, the natives? Nope. Nope, they're just as bad as any humans, if not worse. According to me. And they fought, which I'm going to get into later here. So then, at the last migration, they went to the East Coast. Now we have different groups of native people. A word called Algonquin, which is really, after the white man came, and I'm much more white blood than I am native, which is why I fasted for many days and nights, and the spirits told me I'm to love everyone and help everyone. So I tried. Now, they left the East Coast. They stopped at Montreal today, it's called. The Falls, the Rapids. They went to another big area near Georgian Bay or wherever. They stopped here and there. They stopped at what's called Detroit today, Wawayakama. They stopped. They then came up north. They came to Bawittigung, Sault Ste. Marie. A great amount went along the shore. Some went north. So I get a call from the tribal office in Grand Portage. We'd like you to come over. Oh, all right. This guy shows me a map in Michigan and Ontario of plains showing hundreds of years ago of caribou trails of huge herds going north. Why in the heck would those native people want to live 1,000 miles, 1,500, 800 up north of Thunder Bay? I flew in there and worked a few times. Who would want to live up there? 6.5 months of cold. That's where the caribou went. They followed the game. So they stopped in all these areas. They were led by the higher up spirit, the otter. So I asked the elders around here, Anishinaabe, we get to go in on Anishinaabe, Otter Track Lake. And all Charlie Cook and some would tell me, oh, he slid down the cliff. He slid down the cliff. I know what I was asking him. Well, what was he doing? The Indians are following him where they're going to go live. That's who led, was the otter. And at Otter Track Lake, he left the track there to tell the people I was here. Who lived there? Penny Ambrose. The government let him. He left on his table 3 rocks. 3 rocks. I think they were probably very valuable rocks. I asked Charlie Cook, I used to take care of him. He's one of the last alive. Lillian was gone, Plummer, all of them. The Powells, the everybody's, what's her name's dad, still left. Hard to remember this stuff. What do you think those rocks were? You just say, I don't know. Probably uranium, some different things. So they traveled as clans. From Sault Ste. Marie, they went south. I won't get into the clan stories because I could do a whole talk on it. There's 32 clans. The Bear Clan was on the outside of the villages, the police. If you go to a Winnebago, Ho-Chunk, and Black River Falls, Wisconsin powwow, you'll see guys full-blooded walking around with poles, walking like this. Somebody says, Billy, what is that? That's your cops, it's your Bear Clan, that's their job. So that's what these clans were. In the William Warren book, they come up ice, water, land. They come up from the water into humans. Are they made that way? Does it naturally happen? I don't know. I can only think. They come up. One has something over his eyes and is not allowed to look out. The elders told us way back. Then later they lived and lived and lived. They had shells all over the world. Back thousands of years. Many of the humans had shells, so they could not be sick. By nature or the gods, it was taken away. He took it off his eyes, and many Anishinaabe died, natives. He was taken away, back to the water. He has a spear. Submarines have pictures of it. Is it true? I don't know. These are things that happen all over. Muning Wanakani, Madeline Island near Bayfield is where the biggest amount of Anishinaabe lived. They didn't leave the island for 200 years, scared to death of the Sioux and the Assiniboine. Why? It's my land. Oh, it's my land. I was there 2,000 years ago. Same stuff. So they fought till the call by the French, the tribes then started calling them names. Menominee, Sac-and-Fox, Chippewa, Ojibwe, whatever. Did the French give those natives guns? Yes. They also went, as I'll talk on the trading post here in a little while, they gave them guns. The clans, as they came north, went to Thunder Bay, the home of the sleeping giant. Who's ever seen it? In our stories, it was Nanabuju. He is at the high level of gods, but half human. He tries to get up to the highest gods above. He's thrown right down. That is the same, I can't think of the names of many religions with the same stories. He's thrown down. Near Thunder Bay, to the north, is a big ravine coming down between Nipigon and Thunder Bay. There's a rock like this. Have you ever seen it? No? That rock, Nanabuju's daughter, her name is Chik-Wauk. Some say it means bad girl, but it also means she who has started girl. That's his first child of the gods. Her godly husband beats her up, so he kills her, kills him, turns him into a rock. So all of these are stories of which I will get into here. Also, who has ever seen the Lion Rock in Thunder Bay? Looks just like a lion. Have you seen it? Just looks like a water lion, correct? That's right. That's all the stories. And they also see them in these areas all over coming up, which I'll talk a little about later here. They go to Animikiwaju, Thunder Mountain. Then there is Thunder Cape, of the Chik-Wauk, the great bay called Thunder Bay. Near these lion, sleeping giant, all of this. They go to these areas, they're led by the otter. They then, some go straight north following the caribou trails. Some have dreams. Let's go south. They go to a place called the Pigeon River. Where? Getting into Canada. Thousands of passenger pigeons at certain times of the year come and can't fly. The people come from all over to get their food. Are there huge populations of natives? Nope. Who the heck would want to live 6 months? That's why one time a guy said to me, boy, I'd like to live 300-400 years ago. I said, they ought to put you in a nut house. He said, what do you mean? I says, how the heck are you going to get through winter? I talked to the old people that lived as children in the late 1800s. They lost many of their family for pneumonia. Terrible, terrible times. So that's how it was. So they came down to the carrier pigeons. And of course, my knowledge never quits. I'm always asking questions. Well, what did they do with them pigeons? They smoked them. Oh, I bet you that tasted good or smelled good. They then put them in these, much bigger. Or they put them in hides. I saw the elders do that. I saw them even with fish in the northern, inside out. They would take fillets and put it in and bury it, so it would stay cold. I knew one who lived in the winter like that, in the woods. So they lived that way. They then went down to the Pigeon River. Beautiful fish. The pigeons. Hey, hold on, there's somebody living here already. They said, hey, that's ours. Yeah? Well, we want it. That was the Bowanug, the roaster-uppers, the Sioux. Mr. Blackwell, he says, well, I think the reason they call each other that is, I think, based on what I've read and know, I think they roasted each other up and ate some of each other. Based on all the hundreds of books I've read and people I listened to, which took place in all of Asia and Europe too. So then, they went down to the Grand Portage from Pigeon River. Did that portage come when way later the French came, the voyagers? No, it was here before. So, I get a call one day. Mr. Blackwell, we got your name from some people. Can you help us? Well, what do you ask him? My dad died, William Trigg. Who knows that name? Anybody here work in forestry? Anytime you talk about the Trigg maps, William Trigg was out of Ely. William Trigg, in his mind, 40 years ago, as he started, went with interpreters to the Indians, or those could speak, and mapped out the walking route, the Grand Portage. How do you get to Gunflint Lake? The route, the portages. He's got them all on maps. How did they get to Fort Francis? International Falls. The trading posts. The walking trails. It's Shawamikung. If you go to Ashland, Wisconsin, it says Shawamigan. It's really a Shawamikung. Amik is a beaver. That is the stories when the Mesabe means giant. So Mr. Blackwell asked some of these book writers, when do you think that was that those giant beaver were there? Well, either before this period of time or in this period of time way back, animals were huge, huge. And so through their powers, the giant beaver crashed into Park Point, Superior Point, twice. Once Nanabuja did it, once the otter and the beaver. They broke that up. So Mr. Blackwell called up them working in Duluth. In 1854 with the treaty, when Duluth was formed, did you make that between Park Point and the other? They said, well, we'll look it up. No, it was naturally here. So this is all. Was the Laurentian Divide ever changed? Some say yes, by nature and by animals. It has changed through the years. I don't know. So then, they came to Grand Portage. Very few went to Chibito Bigum, the Grand Twin Bays. Where is that?
2 Harbors.
Close? They move from Grand Portage, they go to Grand Twin Bays. East Bay, Grand Ring. The whole entire thing, I had Milt Powell's wife was a great artist and some. Those who grew up around Grand Ray area, Grand Ray means Grand Marsh. Around the entire bay was marsh, swamp, and a little lake by the co-op. There was. It's still there. And so then, as they went down to Grand Portage, they fought the Sioux. I'm not going to get into the stories because I could. They wake up after taking it, and a bird, and he says, Wana Jiman, Chikabik, Chikabik, Sioux canoe near the shore, near the shore. The elders told me this story. They before the sun came up, they went down the street, the river. They could see how their canoes are marked different. They ran out, shot all but 2 canoes and killed. They went to Paradise Beach and stopped at that one little island rock out there. Every time in the early 70s, they'd take the elders, they'd say, ha ha ha, that's the place where the Sioux stopped to go to the bathroom. It was after the battle of Pigeon River. Nobody has ever done this. It's in the Grand Ray Cook County paper. I did this a few years back before I got so sick. So then, they're going this way, and they take the old routes. Beaver Bay, Gagishkanskog, the place of the small cedar. That's the different Highway 1. All these are the old walking trails to Lake Vermilion. All of these. This is what William Trigg did. Mr. Blackwell, what do you think I should do with this stuff of my dad's? Well, hold on, let me think. I said, take it to the museum at Lake Vermilion. However, I will tell the tribal council, they listen to me very well. Why have you not locked it up, put it out so people can see it? I said, not only that, I told you, call a meeting statewide and stateswide. Reporters, people working after ever, to see all these maps. How they get to Gunflint, how they get to Sag, how did they get to South Fowl, how did they get to Fort Francis, how to Lake Winnipeg. Then later comes in the trading posts. So that is where that is from William Trigg. Now, Little Fisher, O.G. Gaines, his name was Charlie Cook. And I told you Billy, can you come to town? He was put in an elder's place. He doesn't know how to run the elevator. Well, all right, I'll come down. He learns, I show him how to do it. Goes up, goes down, up, down. I go back home, they call me. You want to eat lunch? Still running the elevator. So I tell him in Indian, Charlie, if you don't quit doing that, they're going to kick you out of there. You're going to have to go back to Gunflint Lake. Oh, okay, Billy. So then I taped him way back. Now I'm going to really give you the stories. So I said, Charlie, I'm giving him all these. Anishinaabe, what's your name? Ochi Gaines, Little Fisher. He was named that as a child. He said, Magwama. I'll talk just like Charlie. Magwama, my great Gwama. He'll talk half Indian, half English to me. Northern Light Lake, where the Morrison family went up and got many arrowheads. So they had to have fought at Northern Lights Lake. The Assiniboine, the Sioux, and the Ojibwe. So then, he said, Magwama tell me. Long ago. He said, where the pictographs are. Is that Northern Light?
Yeah.
He says, Sagimog. That means the sacred sky spirits with hats like this. Come down. I don't know, it was when his great grandma was alive or they're telling stories of before. They smoke their pipes all night. They come down. How do they come down? Through the portal, magnetic rock. And then go over. He's talking about the rock, magnetic rock, and they're coming over. Sagimog. I know what that is. That means the kind, loved with these Merlin the magician, but these are Anishinaabe. They're coming from maybe 3 skies up, our people would say, 3 worlds up. So then he says, they're dressed in scarlet colors with these things. Later the people dream to build a lodge at Kawishi. That is 50, 60 miles north of Saganaga, at later the reservation, where Chief Black, whatever his name is, Blackstone. So then, they have all of this. And they then have a drum. They sing in that. After he dies at the funeral, from Lac Lacroix, Seine River, one of the daughters walked over, Billy, you're to have this. It was the drum from that one. And it's really interesting stuff. It's so old you can't even see it on there. So then they talked about the battle at Dog Lake, north of Thunder Bay. Right away, Mr. Blackwell, well, what the heck did they want there? They're living there. So then, Dog Lake comes into Kekabeka, Kekabekong, Falls. Who's ever seen Lady of the Mist, a postcard? All right, well, what I was told by the elders, what they told me was there was a man named, his last name was Chik-Wauk. Dog Lake were the non-Christians, called the pagans. They were made to live out there. And Jack Chik-Wauk was the last one to go there and put, in the spring, to put gifts down to the chief's daughter, who comes out in the spring They were chasing the Sioux all over, and the Sioux turned into rocks and things. With their pole, the Ojibwe couldn't see them with their powers. They saw them that way, so they went. The Sioux circled around, raped the women, put them in canoes, but the women wouldn't tell them of the river, the Cam River. And as it got down towards the falls, they couldn't get to shore. They all went over and drowned. North of here on the rivers is the same story, same river. So these are things that happened. So there was a dog at Dog Lake that was burnt into the whole thing. It could not, nothing grow on it. When the white people came in, they destroyed it. They are always named after the dogs, the Sioux leaders. So Black Dog moved to, and with a huge war parties took over Flint Lake. So then, the Ojibwe had a meeting at Nipigon at the Fasting Sacred Rock. We must take Flint Lake back. We have to get the flints. So Bagudjanini, the name Bushman, he was a medicine man. He said, we will get them all together. So they came and they won Flint Lake, and they took them all out. As I drove up here today with John, he said, I'll go show you where that is, Cross River. And I asked Charlie, and some of the other elders, Spoons, all of these, well, where was that big battle with the Sioux? Over there. And he says, whatever the name of the river was, he says. So that's where the village was, that they're finding now, the bones and things. But that is where the battle was. So I go into a store, and there's a book. And it's got more stuff in it than stuff I didn't even know. So with my smartness, stupidness, so I thought, well, who the heck's the author of this book? So I see the lady's name, 2 ladies. I look in the Thunder Bay papers. What's the place burnt down in Thunder Bay with the finished pancakes?
Hoito.
Right across from Hoyto's was the bookstore.
Yeah.
That's where I got it on the corner. Sold out. I still got the book. I still got the book, and it's all about the Battle of Flint Lake.
What?
And so what they say in the book, is that Black Dog, after they had taken it, the village was there, but they're guarding it so they can't get to the Flint. So, which is way across, so Black Dog brings a huge war party against them. And they put, in her book says, in the 1860s or 80s, miners with interpreters from the Dog Lake people and all over had stories of all these battles. And that's where they got this. But the miners weren't good writers, so the ladies wrote the book. It is the Thunder Cape or something is the name of the book.
Eagle of Thunder Cape?
Huh?
Eagle of Thunder Cape? No, maybe
Something
not.
like that.
Okay.
Thunder Cape of Thunder Bay. So then after the big meeting at the Fasting Rock on Nipigon, they went in and they took it over here. Bagudjanini, a small man in the woods, it's a spirit, they're very small. Maybe 3 feet high. And that's his Indian name. And they had taken over Flint Lake, and then the big battle came. And then they were starting to lose it because Black Dog had gotten too many coming. So in the book, Bagudjanini, little bushman, smokes his pipe and he calls to Thunder Cape for the thunder beings to come, and it hails. And in the book it says they had huge logs, bush rocks that they had surrounded their village. And the Sioux couldn't break through, but then the hail hit them so bad the Sioux couldn't. So they were able to shoot at them and killed many of them and got them away. So they followed them. Where did they go? Saganaga Lake. Now, some say that that means the lake with the many outlets. Milt Powell told me the story from, which I'll get back later, those pictures, that older lady in the one. She's the one who told the story to Milt. Milt was a Korean War veteran. When he got back from Korea, she had left Saganaga Lake and was in Fort William, Port Arthur, called at that time Thunder Bay, in a hospital or old folks home. She was blind since way back. That's Chief Blackstone's daughter, which I'm going to talk about now here as I get going towards the end of time. And he comes walking in about 20 yards from her room. She screams and cries out, crying, calling him his Indian name, Milt. In Indian, you're here, Milt. She's saying in Indian. And he walked in and he said, I cried and cried and cried. Here's my great grandma from Saganaga Lake, carried. She's from Chief Blackstone. But Milt told a story from him that when the Sioux moved to Saganaga Lake, she told a story. Was she alive at that time, or there was a story passed on? I don't know at what time that battle was. What happened was they chased them from island to island in their canoes and around till they finally took them to an island. They then took the flint arrowheads with the pitch and with the flint lit them. And then they took birch bark, threw it down in the mound. I did this in Grand Marais one time with a completely filled up crowd. I said, well, Milt, what happened? Well, they threw that smoke in there. They started shooting down in there with that fire on it. Oh, what happened? Well, what happened? Well, they all jumped out of the mound. Then what? They hit them over the head with a tomahawk, killed them all. I said, tell it just like your great grandma told you. So that's what happened there. It was called Massacre Island, and they changed it to Spruce Island. I don't know where it is. She probably does.
I do.
You do? See, I don't.
Near American Point.
Okay. So then they say there was around 30, if not over, killed in that inside of that. They live in a mound. Now you have a live-in type of a mound, and you have burial mounds. When in time did they use those burial mounds? I'm not really good on that, because there's different times of the burial mounds, which are on the Gunflint Trail. Didn't we see one as we came, John? A mound?
Nearby.
Yeah. So they were way, way back. See, we're going back from arrows 9,000, 10,000 years ago. What happened? We don't know. Then the white man shows up. And he has learned, coming from the sky, meteors, a thing called flint. How does their rifle work? Flintlock. How much flint was taken off of Flint Lake? I don't know. They then called it Gunflint Lake. where they came and got the Gunflint from probably the 1700s on. Gunflint. So they did this. So it is called Gunflint. Oh, you poor people have to listen so long. But that's why I want this film. Now, I worked so hard on this. I worked so hard. I went over to the National Park Service. I said, I cannot find, was there a trading post at Saganaga? They said yes. There was 13 Hudson Bay trading posts from there to Rainy Lake, near International Falls. Was there one in Gunflint? They all said no, but there somebody might have had a little store. But all those trading posts have to be on the line. They then go to Grand Portage, where there's 1,800 people drunk for 2 weeks. That is called the rendezvous. That's what it's called. That's what it's called. So, it is called the distribution center of the trade goods to textiles, not a trading post. The guns, the traps, the everything. There were trading posts at 1779, 1802 Grand Portage, 1779, 1802 Vermilion Lake, Lake Vermilion, Rainy Lake Post, Pembina Post, Red Lake River, Red Lake, 1790, 1784, Cass Lake, Leech Lake, Sandy Lake, Cedar Lake, Whitefish Lake, Snake River. These are all over trading with the Chippewa, Ojibwe, which the French are doing the same with the Sioux over there. So these are the trading posts. And then I worked so hard on this. And then I spent a long time with the great with the National Park Service. He's so good. He says, well, Billy, Grand Portage was the largest textile fur trading post. It was huge. Owned by Northwest Company and XY Company. They left at 1802 and 1803-04. Then he said somebody came in and bought them. Who was that? John Jacob Astor. So Billy says, did he ever come to Grand Portage to go to book? Yep. He then bought, the fur trade was starting to quit. He then bought end of the lake. Lake Superior. What's that called in French? Fond du Lac. That's down at West Duluth. Not the reservation. That's some Indians taken up there. So he then bought that. Then John Jacob Astor sold it all. He knew that the fur trade was going down. His grandson, according to Mr. Blackwell, was killed on what ship?
The Titanic.
The Titanic. He's one of the major bank holders, refused to go in the Federal Reserve. So then they have Isle Royale, Bayfield, Grand Portage, American Fur Company, then changes over to commercial fishing. The furs are done. So then, I'm getting near the end finally. So then, the last of the fur trading in this area, Indians moved from Wisconsin up here. And one is the Chosa family. Who's ever heard that word? No. Charlie and them call them Chose, which is what a lot of them, they came from Lac du Flambeau, Wisconsin, They ran the Basswood Lake trading post. Saganaga Lake was run by Bill and Ed Connors. Ed Connors marries Blackstone's daughter, Margaret. She is the mother of Mike Powell's wife, Sophie. The kids cannot be enrolled with today's rules, but they can in Wisconsin because of the Connors. Bill and Ed moved from Bad River to Saganaga. I don't know where that trading post was. Does anybody? You do? I don't.
Where?
I've never been out there.
Ah.
So that
Saganaga
was,
Falls.
to my knowledge, was the last trading post. So now, we then get to William Morrison and Schoolcraft. They move in from Canada. Morrison, Schoolcraft from the United States. Into Minnesota, they start running all the stores. After this fur trade stuff, they're running what is called stores where, what's the name of that? Where two Crow River and Mississippi come together. It's called Morrison County. This is where all these big stores are. But this is still wilderness. Nobody comes up here. Who the heck can travel that far? This is still the wilderness. So the fur trading is done. So everything falls. There's nothing. Who the heck could survive up here? There's nothing. So then, as the fur trading post closes, the Northwest Company has guns, traps, everything. They are selling at Grand Portage 16,300 gallons of liquor to be sent to the trading posts. Sells like that. To get all the Indians drunk, the Voyagers. So I'm talking to the guy. He says, well, you know what's his name? Bruce White's book. I said, yeah. The liquor to the natives was terrible. They couldn't deal with it. Terrible. They'd do anything to get more. The Voyagers were so bad, he told me they were worse. He said that in 1803, the Voyagers' number one problem was they would be fired for 1 year if working intoxicated. That's how bad it was, liquor. Ishkote wabu, firewater. Sometime I'll tell you that story. So this is what happened during those times. So then, the next thing that comes up is wood, trees, railroads. So they make reservations. A general or a colonel of the English comes in, they're running Canada. He comes in and he says, first of all, the chief says, I want to give you one of my beautiful daughters here. So he has a child from her. Who is that? English? Blackstone 1. Blackstone 1. He's considered one of the most smartest humans. So Blackstone 1 lives at that reservation, which they cut down 30%, 50, 70, 90. Took it down to that much to get the timber. Lac La Croix, the northern part of it, they're all kicked off. They dissolved with the whole reservation, 50 miles north of Saganaga. So then, they were finally paid $100,000 per person 2 years ago. That is Lac La Croix. So then, Blackstone becomes the chief. He goes to all the meetings. Do not sign a treaty with the white man. They'll break every one. So the government hates them. It gets worse and worse and worse. Who fight each other for years? The Ojibwe and the Sioux. Buckanegisha Colon Day tries to do it with the Sioux Uprising in Minnesota, but the Ojibwe won't join. I could come and give you a whole nother history, which is so interesting in Minnesota. So then, Blackstone goes and meets a Sioux chief who has to flee away to Canada. His name, Sitting Bull. So he meets him. Then there's a 1/4 degree French Cree. His name, Louis Riel. Louis Riel gets the Cree because Canada's taking the land of these peoples in the Winnipeg and all the areas. These are French Indian. And then the Indians, the Crees. So Blackstone runs from here areas, meets with Sitting Bull and Louis Riel. They then go and they hold up some trains, steal the gold, to finance a revolt. What happens? Sitting Bull's killed by his own people. Louis Riel is hung to death. We're going to send hundreds of troops. We're going to get this damn Blackstone. Can't find him. We'll send another 1,000 soldiers. Well, we can't go back that darn far in these areas, but they did. Can't find him. Where was he? With Queen Victoria. His name is Blackstone, English. He's with the highest English. He says, Queen, I want to give you something, a little present here. The biggest golden nugget she was ever given. She said, what do you want for it? I want to be pardoned. Oh, okay. So they send it back to Canada. He's pardoned. Can't arrest him. So they can't. I could tell you so many stories, but they will not show any of the history of Blackstone. He was in some battles. The gold, the train, everything, didn't make it. It didn't make it. So then Blackstone, that's a picture that went around, that's his daughter. There are many in Cook County come from that family. Not a lot, but there are those. So then, she pardoned him. Now, towards the end here now, everybody says, when I see her dad, the first thing him and I say, where's Blackstone's gold? Because he hid a lot of it. It was the most powerful gold mine, one near Atikokan. He had some 1 mile from Gunflint Lake. He had them all over. And so when I see her dad, the first thing, like the old Indians, we always say, where's Blackstone's gold? Then the elders say, don't go near it, don't try it. He put a hoax on it. You'll have nothing but the worst bad luck, which is what the elders told John, which I heard from all of them. Leave it alone. The Blackstones went all over. They have blood relations all over. They told all of this, all of these stories. I gave tobacco and money and things. I helped Mike Powell and Sophie from the Blackstones. They taught me medicines for stomach and ulcer, cancer, all these things. I couldn't find one of them in my mind. Every book, in Indian. I knew what 2 of them were. One of them I couldn't find. Finally, when somebody found out what it was right next to the other one. Swamp mint, wild ginger, and then crow's foot. And these are the things these elders taught me. I give them rides. They teach me medicines. I'd have to give them tobacco and money. That's the way, or whatever. That's the way it was. So, as I go to the end now, Charlie Cook said, we travel between Grand Marais and Gunflint Lake sometimes. That's a long trip. My brother Jack's book, I don't even know when the first gravel roads were built up to Gunflint. Does anybody know? To drive on? Huh?
Look at Raff's book.
Yeah.
William Raff's book.
Early 1910s, 20s.
Okay, so he said they took a man down to John Oshawain's, who had 7 daughters in great Grand Bays, Grand Marais. And the old man with his power shaking his drum looked at him and said, he has a strange disease that looks like a spider web. He says, it's one that's going to kill many people. What's it called later? Cancer. He says, I'll be back in 2 days. I'll go to Wabanimikiwaju. It's a certain mountain. These are the people up here that are taking the John Oshawains. And he comes back and he works on the man and he puts over him a rock. He takes off a cloth. It's a bluish purple, or bluish. There's stuff in it. It lights up through his powers. It kills the cancer. What is it? Cobalt. So then the 7 daughters, Charlie said, I like one of them. So then the story got around. So they came up from Minneapolis hunting, Grand Marais and stuff, got to Rochester. They came up and they bought the cobalt from one of them. These are the things that they were asking these Indians constantly: uranium, cobalt, all of these things. Then he went to Basswood Lake. Charlie's a little kid by canoe. Before powwows, there were ceremonial drums. She's been to one of them doings. I've been on that since I was young. The Grand Medicine Lodge, I've been since I was young, putting those, because they knew that I tried to learn. So they did all of that. They then built the Paulson mines. Didn't work. My brother Jack in his book talks about all of that. Walter Caribou, who adopted me as a child, when his son died, 79, I was shot in the head in Minneapolis, where I lived. He had a dream, a great dream, that the sun, on the east side of the sun, is a great lion who can see how long you will live. He came down to my path of life and he took off. Maybe the lion doesn't know it till God tells him, I don't know. But he said, no, Billy, you will live till you are older with white hair. He told me that. And so Walter, his mother was one of the 3 sisters who made it through the winter at Saganaga. Kakagins. Okay, now what's the one? The sisters. No, it's Saganaga. They had to make it through the whole winter alone. Now that is the 3 ladies that made it through that whole winter. Who was the one married to the guy who was a commercial? No, he was fishing at Gunflint Lake and places. Saganaga. Lived on the Canadian side. That was his,
the Tempest Powell?
Tempest. Tempest and her sister.
Yeah.
Okay, those 3 lived together. Made it through the whole winter. They made it together. And Tempest knew a lot of the stories. And that's Kakage, Raven. It was Walter, my dad's mother. So he would tell me all the stories. And he said, we moved to Basswood Lake because of logging. We all moved there. He said, my dad and my uncle went over to check the neighbors. They come back. He said, he was a little kid, threw us in a canoe, threw a blanket over us, told us not to look. When I peeked out behind a tree, I saw a man and a woman, native. I heard my dad and them talking. They ate all their 8 children. They turned Wendigo con. They turned into an animal who's starving. He said, my dad shot him, threw him in the fire, what came out was a piece of ice. He said he went back to Basswood Lake years later. Nothing even grew there. That's in my brother Jack's book.
Was
And so-
Dorothy Powell,
Huh?
Dorothy Powell related, how, to the, was she one of the three women?
I don't know. I don't know.
Dorothy?
No, no, that's.
Tempest is a very good friend of mine.
Yeah,
Betty, was Betty Powell?
that's generation,
That's a.
couple generations
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
So Liza Flatt told me of the Wendigo stories that came down from Whitefish Lake, straight down to Grand Portage. All the animals left, nothing. This was in the 1800s probably. The story her grandma, she lived to be 92, but her grandma told her. And so nobody would dare go out and fight this Wendigo, they're so powerful. So then he goes there, and the old lady who has the thunder powers goes out, and she causes, even in winter, the thunder lightning coming to hit that Wendigo. Nobody will go near the body till spring. At that spot, there's nothing but bad luck to this day in Grand Portage. So the final things I'm going to say, there are so many stories in history of this. When the Gunflint Trail Road was made, there was a man who claimed he owned the road. You had to pay to get through.
Oh,
Blankenburg.
Toll Road.
Who was that?
Blankenburg.
Art Dunstead.
Yeah, Nelson.
Who was his wife?
Eve.
Where was she, who was her family?
Her daughter, Bunny.
No, where did Eve come from?
What family they come from?
I don't know.
The devil.
Chicago?
The Daytons.
No, yeah.
No.
Governor Dayton and the Daytons.
Never knew that.
Yep, the Daytons. That's what they come from. Who is Dayton's mother? The first Dayton's, Minnesota. A Rockefeller.
Oh.
So then, they decide in this area up here, they're going to make a thing called the BWCA. So then they tell them who had bought land at Saganaga, you got to get out. Ever go in Grand Marais and see the blacksmith shop?
Bill Ballin.
Huh?
Bill Ballin.
His dad, Sam Bally, he owned at Saganaga. They chained him. Chained me to a chair with my gun. I will not give my land up with my life. So the Indians came to see him and said, now you know how it is. And that's what happened. I don't know whatever happened with him on that. And I don't know where the actual boundaries are. But this is the stuff. And this county is full of secrets and stories. Magnetic rock is unbelievable. The natives talk of a place you can go down. It's the same as in the Southwest to another world. They talked about that to me. And so anyway, I'll try to answer any questions, and I thank you. No, you know, I am half crazy this way. It's hard to keep all this knowledge. And I work very, very hard to pass this on this Gunflint Trail, these areas, because there is so much history. So miigwech. I'll try to answer any questions if you have.
So the spirits also go up after people die?
Oh, one
from
more thing
magnetic?
too, excuse me. If anybody wants to throw something in to help me financially, because I'm just on elder stuff, whatever, if you have a little bit. Otherwise, whatever. No, it's a story?
Well, when an Indian dies, does their spirit go up from magnetic rock?
No, they go up in a different portal that all religions have, that the souls will travel to whatever heaven their God has made for them to go, that is on their soul. So it is a different portal or different portals that they go to their areas or rooms of heaven, depends on whatever people's belief is.
I used to keep Betty Blackbird.
I was so sick for 2 days, I didn't even know if I'd be able to talk.
You did a good job.